welcome to another weekend episode and Talk with Sanjana. Well, guys, in today's conversation, I'm with CEO and the founder of a company called Pitstop. So let's get started, guys. Let me, begin this conversation. Let's gather more information. Let's share knowledge and share each other's experience as well. So here I am with Mihir Mohan. Hi, Mihir.
Yeah, hi Sanjana. Thank you for having me here on your platform. I look forward to our conversation.
Yes, of course, Mihir. So, Mihir, like I was just saying that we are going to talk, more in terms of how you got started with your company and also your journey. So, before we talk more towards business, it's also important to know and understand your background and your journey as well. So, can you please take us through your, educational background or your work experience that you already prior had, and take us through your profile as well?
Yeah, so I think prior to starting up, I come from a small town in Bihar called Darbhanga. Was in Darbhanga for almost 10 years, and before there were no good schools in Bihar in general at that point of time. So I had to go to a boarding school. I studied in Sindhya School, Gwalior. Post which I went to IIT Kanpur, where I completed my mechanical degree. And then since then, I've been working in various startups and established companies. First 3 years were working in companies in Hyderabad, Bangalore, San Francisco. And then after that, for last 15 years, I've been pursuing startups, businesses, have done multiple startups since then. So broadly, I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, but got into software technology line, and I did like a lot of what we worked on. So I'm a coder. I love coding. I'm not the nerdy kind of code guy, but mostly a very effective coder who can get things done faster. And I get a kick in coding. So that's what my basic background is. And in startups, I did have a chance to learn a lot about how to run businesses, what are the areas which needs to be focused on, and what are the different kinds of skill sets that you have to acquire. So it has been a very fulfilling and thorough journey, knowing about different aspects of business and learning and acquiring different kinds of skill sets all the while.
That's really great, Mihir. So you said that you have a degree from mechanic and then you moved towards coding as well. So during this transition, I'm sure there must be a lot of exposure that you have tried to do on your own, right? So
Right.
how did that go?
Yeah, so I think when you switch side or when you are trying to learn new things, right? So you have to take up a lot of initiatives on your own. So from campus, we selected for a company in Hyderabad, and there we got a first set of training on software coding and different aspects of technology. And from there on, I did get a chance to interact with a lot of bright people who had made a career in software and tech, which influenced me a lot, which kind of they mentored me into reading different kinds of books or picking up different skill sets in general, or picking up areas, let's say in technology, which areas do I want to excel in. So first 2.5, 3 years, it was more about exploring and understanding the whole gamut of software technology, as we call it today. And then after that, it has been picking up one slice, which you are best at. So in software, you have a back end, you have front end, and then you have full stack, all those things which are there. So I think I have done coding in almost all the languages, right? From Android to iOS to Java, C, PHP, LabStack, right? And then Python, Django. But eventually I found my sweet spot as a backend developer. So eventually first 2, 3 years were spent on getting yourself comfortable with the horizontal limit of the entire technology platform.
Great. So during this whole time, I just want to know, were you working for companies, right? And when you were making this
That's right.
shift, right? So I'm sure you must have got a lot of practical exposure as well.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Great.
absolutely.
So now moving towards one of the topic, the main topic that we are here to talk about is your own business. So how did this idea generate, or was this always, was something, it was always on your back end that you already wanted to do, but you were looking for an opportunity. So how did this
Right.
everything pit stop and your company began?
Right. So I think I'm a first generation entrepreneur. My father, he's a retired physics professor, and
Mhm.
I have a typical Indian family in which you have only typical Indian or Bihari family in which you have only doctors and engineers.
Mhm.
Right. So I grew up in that family, but eventually it's the quest for independence and probably doing things on your own was major motivation to get into business, because that gave you a lot of independence. When you work in companies, the way I see it is that the kind of impact that you can make, while that is immense in a longer period, because bigger companies do bigger things and it takes a lot of time. But from an individual perspective, your role is slightly limited. So I think that quest of reaching out and then probably realizing your own capabilities independently and at your own will was one of the primary reasons that I moved into setting up business or entrepreneurship at large, to create an impact and probably maximize the impact that I could do for my abilities.
Okay, so why this domain? Why into automobiles, and why into this particular service that you have picked? What made you do that? I mean, there could be so many other options. You were already into software, but again, you came back here into this domain. So, what was the reason?
Right. So I think if you now that I can retrospect and think back and give you a fancy answer,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think probably I would be honest and tell you that it was more of a technology project that we had taken up. So I was building a chat-based conversation platform where we're allowing businesses near your house to transact online or transact on chat and commence a transaction. So the company legal name is called ChatPay Commerce because of that. So
Mm-hmm.
eventually, when we started finding out businesses around us, we realized automotive one business which was not digitized at all. It has always worked as a closed ecosystem, right? Whereas if you look around your house, there would be a washing guy, there would be a puncture shop, there would be a garage, right? And they're all devoid of technology,
Right. This was
right? So
all of
that's
like a
when
traditional method, you would say.
right. So we could find a very solid field where there was no use of technology, and that is where we felt that as technologists we could make large impact. So this was the beginning of Pitstop, but eventually when we got deeper into the domain, we kind of related to the problems that it really faces. So I'm a mechanical engineer, and then the mechanic and service advisor that I work with, right? So they're much more experienced and they're much more knowledgeable about mechanics than I do. But their salary is only 15,000, 18,000, or maximum they can earn is 25,000, 30,000. Right? So we got to know a lot of these structural uh, difficulties that people in this domain face. And then being a mechanical engineer, I could relate well to the segment, understand the terminology, understand the nuances of those. So it became a natural choice. And I could also relate my own experience as a car driver. That car service and repair is not a good experience at all. People do feel that they have been taken for a ride, or there are a number of stories which are there on the web around bad service and repair experience. Right. So all of those factors
Basically, I
came
would
in
say
together to
it is
yeah, yeah.
mostly in terms of, it's a trust with the brand that you go and give your whole car, right? And then you
Right.
don't know actually what actually goes in and goes out there. But here in this platform, do you also bring a very reliable, flexible, and very accessible way for a customer to know the status of the car, or to, these are the very
Absolutely.
convenient way you would say, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so that is where our strengths came in. I mean, since we were not from the domain, we did not have any bias. We always looked at from a customer's hat that he needs to know what is wrong with his car. So I think we today offer a very sophisticated platform, a technology platform to our garages, mechanics, service advisors. In fact, we have built a complete app suite for service advisors, which includes a lot of automated diagnostics.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a mechanic came to your place and he told you that your battery is not working fine, and you would not believe unless you have some proof.
Of
So
course.
today we have built some of those proofs. The mechanics have been given OBD based platform on which he can actually diagnose and give a rating of your battery on a scale of 1 to 5. If it's 1 and 2, you're shown the result, and in that case it's very clear that that battery needs replacement. In case of 3, 4, and 5, it doesn't need replacement. So you get a very transparent diagnostics, and that is where our role as technologists came into forefront. And we dealt with them in that way. We did not carry a bias, ki possible hoga, this cannot be done, or this can be done. We felt customer needs it, he should have it. So we were one of the first companies to introduce live tracking almost 3 years back, right? And then step-by-step guide of how does a service experience happen. Customers on their app can see photos, videos, they can have access to diagnostic reports, a step-by-step update tracking of car when it's in transit,
So when
right?
you're
So all
saying
those
this
things are by default.
videos and photos, it's something when you're saying when the car is at a service, they would be still
Right.
able to see all of this.
Right. So all of this will be there in their app. I mean, they should be able to view all of it.
Right. And also, I think in the kind of lifestyle we have today, I think it is also very convenient to have such a setup, which is very easy to access and reliable and very transparent as well. So
Right.
with this, this comes to my next question, which is more
I'll just
towards.
add one part to what I said earlier. So there is one way in which services get done, which is at garages, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is convenient or transparent because of technology that we enabled. We have gone one step further. We are saying people that you need not go to a garage. The garage will come to your place and they will do the service right in front of you. Right. So if you, and then again, those app updates and OBD and all those transparency is there. At the same time, it's being done at comfort of your home. So if the service takes 75 minutes, it takes much lesser time than you would keep the car at a garage for almost 5, 6 hours. It happens right in front of you at a price which is almost 30, 35% cheaper. So our quest for getting a right customer experience has led us to create a very different breed of supply, which doesn't exist in the industry today. Right? And we are saying that normal customers need not go to a garage. They will get everything right from AC sanitization, periodic services, oil service, battery fitment, or any kind of part fitment right at their doorstep. They don't have to go to a physical garage. So that is the extent to which we have leveraged technology to change some of these factors regards to customer experience.
Great, great, Mihir. So with that brings up to my another question is, let's say for a person to start off something,
Right.
from to any specific domain, how do you think, or what are the very important business aspects that he needs to be aware of, or he needs to be conscious about when he's going to start up a new business? That could be from any domain, any field.
Right. I think first and foremost, there has to be a core belief in the entrepreneur himself, because he's the most important person here at the time of starting the business, right? And he should have utmost belief in the idea that he wants to pursue. That belief is required to give him right kind of persistence to take it further. Second is he must have uh, no emotional attachment to business idea as such. I mean, people do get attached or cling on to business ideas for a long time. Whereas as an entrepreneur, we always try doing new things, and those new things might fit. These are basic tenets that the belief of the entrepreneur, at the same time understanding that ideas may fail, and he should probably fail fast rather than keeping it or lingering it on for a long time. Right.
Right.
Second is he must have financial support. So about finances, I have a very clear-cut thought after working in multiple startups or starting out multiple times, is that people should raise money from external folks. An entrepreneur should focus on the idea. The money should come from friends, families, or some other angel investors. It does two things. One, it keeps the business, it makes the business viable because business does need little money to begin with. And then also it keeps the entrepreneur alive, which is he also has to pay his rent. He also has to cater to his food and other securities. So he shouldn't be worrying about those insecurities to begin with. So he must raise some money. And what this raise also does, it gives uh, a validation to your idea that somebody else is betting on you, right? Either they are betting on you as an entrepreneur or they are betting on the idea that you float around, right? So finance is a second aspect, right? The rest of the things are all part of a journey, right? So when you begin, you start with implementation, right? There'll be success, there'll be failure. Some implementations will fail.
I think that's a very good point that you mentioned about failure. I mean, most of us, what happens is even before starting, we are really afraid about the failure and how are we going to tackle that as well. And that's a very good point that you made that it's okay to at least fail in the beginning, and it's an experience that will, make us better and maybe re-strategize ourselves. So talking about the planning and strategy as well, one more time, I have some questions around that. Now, once you had an idea, how do you strategize and put things together? What is the first step that you do? Do you look at for competitors, or do you look at how to build your own brand? How does this whole process takes place?
Right. So I think first step towards any implementation for a business is building that team, right? So which is a business is not a single line of thought, right? It has there are multiple fields which have to come together to run a business, right? For example, there could be a software idea. You need people who can code develop for you, but at the same time, you would need accountant, finance who can manage the finance for you, right? Or there be some specialized requirement for resources. For example, when we dealt with automotive, we didn't come from automotive, right? So we needed people who are from automotive who can actually help us and expedite the understanding that we have for this domain. So first thing would always be finding complementary people, right? Don't not to worry about too much of having your own experience in that area or not, because eventually it's team which kind of takes you through,
Right.
right? So you must get complementary people, understand your own strengths, get complementary people is the first part of it. The second part of it is to always focus on your customers, right? So I mean, competition, while we keep a track of it, but that should not determine our success or failure. Eventually it's our belief in solving the right customer problem, and it's the customer feedback, right? It is what is most important. A lot of time, if you look at what you read in newspaper, what you read in media, you would hear about funding news, you hear about many jazzy stories about different companies, right? So that should not bother you, because eventually it's your own journey that you have to live, and your journey is with the customer, right? If the customer endorses you, he likes the service that you've built, he expresses in I mean certain ways, whether it's highly positive or highly negative, it shows the interest of the customer. So eventually everything should revolve around that particular customer without worrying about the competition at all, right? And then comes the planning part of it, where if you have a right team and your focus is set on the customer experience, then probably you will make it. It's a lot of times it's a first principle, and since entrepreneurs are always setting out their charter, which is new to the world, at that point of time, probably nobody has that experience in that area. So you'll have to touch or pass that period yourself along with the team, right? So, and the rest of the things, they happen automatically as a consequence of some of these right steps that you take.
Right. I think that's a very wonderful point that you made. I mean, customers, I think customer feedbacks also helps in generating new ideas, right?
Right.
Okay. So when we talk about feedbacks, how do you put things into action? So is there a way that you're gathering these feedbacks or these ideas that generates right in between? Because you might have a strategy, but there could be a lot of things that's evolving. Like as a technology, it keeps evolving. Let's say today, digital marketing is a booming thing, right? So how do
Right.
you cater all these things together, and how do you strategize, or how do you, put things into plan?
Right. Right. So while the world around you evolves, right, but your evolution as an entrepreneur or a business is guided by what does a customer need, right? For example, in digital marketing, there are a number of ways in which we can reach out to a customer, but there are very limited ways in which you can reach out to your own customer, and that could be the case, right? For
The
example,
targeted customers.
the targeted customers, right, or the medium in which they are available, right?
Right.
So while there'll be lot more improvement or evolution around that world, as a founder, businessman, entrepreneur, you should be aware of those changes. So you're not taken off guard when something new comes up, right? So you should be listening about what are the changes that are happening. But eventually, out of those changes, which are relevant ones for your audience could be, I mean, TG could be defined in terms of age group, in terms of gender, in terms of location, whether you're dealing with metro cities or you're dealing with tier 3, tier 4 cities, right? So the number of categorizations on which this choice of what technology to use or what strategy to change, right? That depends, right? So as a business owner, you should be aware of all those changes. I mean, Facebook or Apple, they do their developer program every year, right? So there are many changes which start from there, or there are a lot of conferences which happen otherwise in the world, right? So you should be aware of those changes. I mean, that is what is required. You need not worry about lot of. I mean, you need not worry about adopting those changes all the time, right? And
And
you will
only
know when your
implement what's
customer,
required, what's important for your
right?
business.
Right. And customers will tell you, I mean, customers will reach out to you on the mediums that you are not. And eventually you'll have to get there. Right.
Get
So
there.
for example, we have a complete support on Twitter, which earlier was not there because people started writing about us on Twitter.
Mhm.
Right. Similarly, Play Store or Google, right? There are multiple ways, multiple websites where they take feedback. Right. So eventually those things acts as a queue where customers are trying to reach out to you. So eventually the whole game is how do I make it very convenient for customers to express and then adapt myself accordingly.
Right. So at what point did you realize that you need to expand your business to different other states? When did this thought came into process?
Right. So there are two ways to look at it. A lot of times it happens because of the growth that we do, which is when we think that our model has been set in a particular city, there is a time when we expand to other cities to capture or probably innovate in that space. And typically, I would suggest that people should pick up two cities if you are in operations, e-commerce, right? Logistics,
Right.
right? So that when you build a technology platform or when you serve a customer, you have two flavors of customers. For example, we can distinctly see that customers in Delhi NCR are very different from customers in Bangalore.
Of
They're
course.
very different from
Customer
customers
behavior
in
also could be varied.
behavior, is right, and then the platform behaves very differently in those cases, right?
Right. Right.
So one of the motivation for us to expand was this, that we wanted to get to Delhi. Delhi was the hub of automotive, right? It's a massive, massive car base, and it's the automotive capital of India. So we wanted to be there. The second motivation came that there are some ideas which can be solved only at a larger scale when your reach is higher. For example, when we cater to insurance claims, right? So we have to be all India, or we'll have to support them in majority of cities. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for them to collaborate with a partner who is only at a city level.
Right.
It's necessary for us to venture out into multiple cities and then set a platform, right?
Mhm.
So these were two reasons. One was to get a different customer flavor. The second was to actually make our business more conducive for different kinds of businesses. And third, of course, is when you have saturated in one city, you have to move out and then try out another city.
Right, right. Okay. So with this, let's move towards more about questions, which is to keep yourself motivated. Also about your employees, because employees are the most important asset of a company, right? And to have a right employee and to choose the right employees is also equally important.
Right.
Along with this, how do you keep your employees and also yourself motivated to do better? Because being, as a human, it's a tendency to lose interest unless and until you're really very passionate about something. So
Right.
with this, how do you keep up with yourself and also your employees motivated?
Right. So I think first and foremost, the most important aspect that I've learned over time is to be able to communicate to everyone, right? Whether today is a very distressful time. Everybody's at home and they are all struggling in their own mind, right?
Yes, yes.
So I think as a founder, as a business owner, uh, creating a channel where somebody could reach out to you, right, without bothering about any kind of bureaucracy, or let's say without bothering about any structure, right? So keeping that communication line open for me is one of the most critical factors. So I do talk to everyone in the company, right from people who work on the ground, from service advisors, mechanics, to sales, ops, to technology, product, right? So that communication line should be open, because generally this is one factor which keeps the environment less stressful. If anybody has a problem, they can reach out, right? If anybody has a financial problem, they can reach out. If anybody has, let's say, a problem with work in the company, they can reach out. So eventually, people also look for some of these ways. They want to see a way out, right? A lot of times, people are stuck with in teams where they probably don't like their managers. But here, if they can talk to the founder about it very clearly and transparently, right? So in that case, it de-stresses them to a very large extent, right? Second is at every level. I mean, the point which you made, that people may not be motivated at same level, but eventually, what we look for people is that when you work on some idea, all the employees in their own mind should be aligned to the idea in general. Right? So one of the key factor for everybody to be de-stressed is that they believe in their own mind about what is the impact that we're creating, right? Are we creating better lives for our mechanic service advisors? Are we creating a good customer experience for our customers, right? So those are stories that we share very often. And when people get aligned at that level, they probably are willing to take more risk with the company. Right? So these are two things that I personally follow, and to make myself more accessible and to share the overall vision of why the company is working, or what is the impact of work that we do. For example, a developer who is working, suddenly if he's told that your technology is being used by 10,000 mechanics all over the world, that's a different kick. Then he gets aligned to it, right? So those are things that we do. Other than this, I mean, we want to create a very fun-loving environment. Sports is one of the critical aspects, which has taken a hit during COVID times. I mean, we used to make a point to play at least football or cricket once a week. It's a team game, and it aligns or it allows people to rejuvenate and come back. You see a different kind of people on sports ground, right? So
I
sports is
think
another.
when you make such activities, people try to be themselves, right? And
Right.
it's also important, like you said, to have a very friendly and very transparent and very accessible kind of an environment. It's not just with the manager. I think it's with everybody, right?
Right.
With their
Right.
team members or any. That's when a team gets stronger and maybe motivated to do much better. And do you see? Have you observed any kind of changes that you try to implement, and it actually made some results, a better result? Is there any kind of strategy that you would like to share as a company, as a business owner?
Right. So I think I'll again go back to the customer experience part of it, right? So eventually, when we build technology, right, so that technology was being used by service advisors, mechanics, right, who were seeing that kind of technology for the first time, and it was not good to use, especially in the beginning, right?
Right.
So based on their feedback, we started tweaking the technology aspect of it,
Hmm.
right? And then we started incentive program.
Mhm.
Typically, what works in this industry, auto industry at large, is that a service advisor working in authorized dealership or any other place gets incentive based on value of business that he brings,
Right.
right? So the moment you walk in, they tell you about what is wrong with your car, right? We changed that. We said that we're not worried about value, we are worried about experience. So when you go to a customer's location, follow all the processes, and for those processes, there'll be an incentive for it, right? So for example, when he uses our app completely, when he uses our diagnostics device completely, the outcome for that is positive experience from end customer, right?
Right.
So when we did some of these changes, and we could see the results. I mean, they're out there in the open. We were the most with the highest rated app on Play Store, Google, and all the other places, right? So that combination of tech plus a right kind of incentive for people is what works in a lot of cases, and it works for us.
Right. Okay, okay. So, Mihir, we have almost come to an end of this show. So, by this, I think I can conclude that we have gathered a lot of information about how to start a business and what are the aspects that's extremely important, and how to handle failure, and also some strategies that actually help your business, and how you yourself and you keep your employees motivated. So this was I would say, a wonderful conversation, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience that you have tried to share, and I'm sure the viewers are also going to benefited by this. So with this, is there something that you would also like to share something at the end?
Yeah, so I think overall message to all the budding entrepreneurs, people who want to start their business, is that your reason to start a business should be clear, and it's a long game. It's a long game. It doesn't happen. You hear about success stories, but they have also persisted for a long time, right? So there's a famous saying which says that it took me 30 years to become an overnight success, right? So that's how business or entrepreneurship is, right? So be ready for that when you jump into it, right? And the world is yours. So all the best. If you want to reach out, you can always reach out to me. You can get my email ID from my website, and then I'm ready to help in any possible way that I can, and then support anyone based on the experiences that I've had so far. And thank you
Great,
so much
great,
for inviting. It was. I mean, I enjoyed the conversation thoroughly.
great. Thank you so much, Mihir. Thank you for taking some time and making this conversation happen. So all I want to say is, during this time, I know we all are having this virtual talk, virtual meetings everywhere. It's very important to have a human interaction, but I think that's not possible at this time. But I think this is one of the way to reach out to people and do something, and that is where I have started this my channel, to reach out to more people and do my bit. So I'm extremely happy that we were able to make this, and I hope this is going to reach a lot of people. So finally, just want to say, stay safe, stay healthy, and yeah, take care of yourself and your family as well.
Sure. Same to you, Sanjana, and everyone who is viewing this.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank
yes, of course. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye. Thank you.
you.